Welcome, and thanks for joining me for this concept. We're talking today about measures of central tendency. And measures of central tendency just refer to a group of values called the mean, median, and mode. The mean is equal to the sum of all the data values divided by the total number of data values that you have. It's what we normally think of as the average. We use this to describe the middle of a set of data that does not have an outlier. All an outlier means is that it's a piece of data that is very, very different from all the rest of the data. For example, if you had as your group of data 2, 3, 5, and 20, 20 is very, very far away from 2, 3, and 5, so 20 would be considered the outlier. The median is the middle value in a data set when the values are arranged in order. So basically, if we put them in a list, it's the guy smack dab in the middle. We use this to describe the middle of a set of data that does have an outlier. So if you had 2, 3, 5, and 20, you would use the guy in the middle as your measure of central tendency. The mode is the data item that occurs the most times. We use this when the data are non-numeric, meaning they are not numbers, or when choosing the most popular item. For example, if you were asking people about their favorite color, you wouldn't necessarily find the mean or median of that. You would find the color that people said the most, and that's your mode. The range is not a measure of central tendency, but we use it a lot when we talk about mean, median, and mode. And the range is just the difference between the lowest and highest data values. So let's find mean, median, and mode, and then answer this question: which measure of central tendency best describes the following data? So first we're going to find mean, median, and mode. To find the mean, we're just going to add everything up and divide by the number of values. So we're going to take 12 plus 8 plus 15 plus 20 plus another 15 and divide it by 5, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data values. So let's do that on our calculator now. So we get 70 on the top, and we're going to divide that by 5 to get 14. So the mean for this particular data set is 14. Now the median you find by making a list from smallest to largest. I like to do that vertically. You can do it any way you like. So I have 8 was my first, and then 12 would come next, and then the two 15s, and then 20. I like to cross them off on my list as I go to make sure I don't miss anybody. So now we need to find the middle guy. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of data, so this 15 is right smack dab in the middle. Now, if you have an even number of pieces of data, you would have 2 guys right in the middle. And what you need to do is take those 2 and find the average of those 2. And I'll go through an example of that. So the mode or the median for this one is 15. Now we need to find the mode, and the mode is the one that occurs the most often. Since 15 occurs twice, our mode is 15. So we have the mean is 14, the median is 15, and the mode is also 15. Now we have to ask ourselves which piece of central tendency, which measure of central tendency would best describe this data. Well, since they're all pretty well grouped together and there is no outlier, we would end up using the mean, or 14, as our best measure of central tendency for this particular set of data. Finding the missing value. Here we're being asked to find the value of x given the data set and the stated mean. What they're saying is that here's your list of data and one piece is missing, but we know what the mean is. So can we backtrack and figure out what that last piece of data is? It's a very simple thing to do. All we're going to do is plug everybody in as if there were all the pieces of data, but for the guy that's missing, we're just going to put in an x. And we know if we add all those things up and divide by the number of pieces of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should equal 14. In essence, we have an equation with an x and a bunch of other numbers that we can simplify. The first thing you're going to want to do is to take and simplify this group of numbers right here. Let's get it looking a little bit more concise. So if we add them up, we get 50 plus x over 5 is equal to 14. We've studied these kinds of equations before, and the best way to deal with this is to get rid of your denominator. I can do that by multiplying both sides by that denominator. When I do, it cancels out here, and I get 50 plus x is equal to 70. Now all I need to do is to subtract this 50 from both sides, and I get x is equal to 20. That tells me that the missing data value for this particular set of data with an average of, or a mean of 14 is 20. Now let's compare some data sets. That means we're going to find the mean, median, mode, and range from two different sets of data and then make some comparisons. First we have George. His last 5 road trips were 6 hours, 4 hours, 8, 12, and 10 hours. Jenny's were 6, 9, 2, 15, and 4. So let's go ahead and talk about George and find his. The mean means that we're going to add up all those numbers, 6 plus 4 plus 8 plus 12 plus 10, and divide by 5. Well, when we add all these up, we get 40 divided by 5, which gives us 8. There is no mode because none of them repeat. And the median is the guy in the middle. So we need to go ahead and put these guys in order. So we have 4, then 6, 8, 10, then 12. So the guy in the middle is this guy right here, 8. So the median for this one is 8. And then the range means we just take the largest, which is 12, subtract the smallest, and we get 8. So for George's set of data, they're all 8. It doesn't always work out that way. Let's talk about Jenny. Let's find her mean. So to find Jenny's mean, we have to take 6 plus 9 plus 2 plus 15 plus 4 and divide by 5. So for her, we get 36 divided by 5, which we're going to get a decimal, and that's okay. Sometimes that's what happens. We get 7.2. All right, and the median for Jenny, the median, we need to put these guys in order. So we have 2, 4, 6, 9, and 15. So the guy smack dab in the middle is 6. So her median is 6. And the range is the difference of the largest minus the smallest, which will give us 13. So now let's make some comparisons. So we have a mean here of 8, median of 8, and a range of 8 for George. And for Jenny, we have a mean of 7.2, a median of 6, and a range of 13. What kinds of things can we say about them? Well, as I look at these, there's a much larger spread for Jenny. She had a bigger difference between her smallest and largest. The range was much bigger. So they're not as consistent. I can also look at the average. On average, which by average we look at the mean, here Jenny's trips were a lot shorter than what George's were. Well, not a lot, a little bit shorter than what George's were. Jenny's mean was 7.2 and George's was 8. So on average, hers were shorter. And the median, the one right in the middle, was also smaller for Jenny than it was for George. So I guess if I had to go on a road trip, I don't know. I might go with Jenny because on average hers was shorter. But if I really hate long road trips, I'd probably go with George because his range is a whole lot smaller. All right, now it's time for you to practice. You need to find the value of x given the following data. And the stated mean. So here's your 3 exams that you've already taken. You got an 80, a 93, and a 91. What grade do you need on the next exam to have an average or mean of 88 on all 4 exams? So kind of set up how you would figure out the mean, plug in everything that you know, and put an X for the thing you don't know. All right, let's see how you did. So we got an 80, a 93, a 91 on the first 3 exams, and then we don't know what we got on the 4th exam. That's what we want to find, so we're going to call that x. We have to divide all those by 4, and we know that that has to equal 88. So first, let's go ahead and condense these numbers right here. We're going to go ahead and add them together. 80 plus 93 plus 91 gives me 264, plus my x that I don't know what that is, divided by 4 is equal to 88. Well, if I want to get rid of the 4 in the denominator, I multiply each side by 4, which makes this denominator go away. So I have 264 plus x is equal to 88 times 4, which gives me 352. Now all I need to do is subtract 264 from both sides, and I get x is equal to 88. That means in order for me to have an average of 88 in the class, I need to get an 88 on the last exam. Well, I want to thank you for joining me for this concept. Don't forget to finish your whisk. You've watched the video and summarized the notes, so now all you have to do is submit your answer to the question. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.